Hello, everyone. Welcome to Abnormal Investigations. Today, we're going to be doing a pre-recording with one of our subscribers, Brittany. She's had a few. I guess from what I understand, she's had an encounter. It's going to be a paranormal encounter, and I think some of her family has also had these encounters. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to talk with Brittany. I've got Scott and Brooks here, also my moderators. Uh, I don't know where I'd be without them. They always show up, and we're going to conduct a premiere for y'all for Saturday night, which y'all are seeing it now. It is Saturday night. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Brooks and Scott on, and then we'll bring our guest on right after we bring them on.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. I think you've got Sarah under your name, Mike.
Yeah, I was under the impression she was going to be here, and I'd already made it and sent it out. I was told she was going to be here, so I can't.
So Mike is Sarah.
Mike is Sarah.
So it's kind of going to be a botched live because it won't be from now on. I will have that took care of. We got Brittany going to be on with us tonight. What do y'all think? It's going to be pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I know I talked to Brittany earlier this week, and I think it's an encounter that really touches home for her. I know that she had debated on actually telling the encounter. So I'm guessing it's a pretty deep encounter, which it is to a lot of people that do have these encounters. I know that I've had some things happen that I'll never forget for sure.
Yeah, haven't we all?
That's why we're here.
Yep, that's it. Put the truth out there, and
yep.
What I don't know, I'll make up. I guess I'm going to go ahead and bring Brittany in so we can kind of visit with her a little bit before we start the show. I always like to give everybody a little time to visit, kind of calm down, get used to everybody, relax, instead of just pushing, right through everything.
There she is. Hey, Brittany.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Brittany.
Hi, Scott, Brooks, Mike, a.k.a. Sarah.
Yes.
Well, going by two names tonight. Hey, y'all are just lucky that I'm live tonight for everything that's been going on, right? I've got to pay for this studio, so I had to go on. I didn't have any other choice.
I know my studio's very expensive too.
Yeah.
Mine's so expensive I have to sleep at it.
Me too.
Can't afford nothing else but the studio.
Hey, mine is so expensive. I have to make up owning businesses. I have to at least look important. So, Brittany, you had a paranormal encounter.
Yeah. Well, and first and foremost, thanks for having me on. I really enjoy watching your channel. And I have been keeping you and Hunter and your family in my prayers. So still rooting for Hunter to come home. Just know that.
I appreciate that a lot. It's been a long, hard battle. A battle that should have never happened, but I guess evil has no limits, and evil and jealousy will cause you a lot of trouble. But I have faith in God, and I have faith that God is leading us down the right road right now, and that justice will soon prevail.
Yep.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. Yeah.
It's definitely a different world out there. It's it's not just a competitive world, and especially the cryptid world that I found out, but it's a cutthroat world. It doesn't just go against somebody's normal beliefs or what you may believe from investigations. It's not, it's not an argument. People go as far as to attack your family or to get family to attack you. It's really a dirty field. It's
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of times, everybody says, oh, people are human, but I believe that there's a spirit behind it. You know, the devil comes through people. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And the
Amen.
enemy, sometimes it's not the person. And I know people are set in their ways, but you know, the enemy, sometimes they know how to strike. But I think, you know, like I said, I'm praying. I know that God has his hands on you and your family, and I truly believe that Jesus will prevail. So if you just keep focusing on his word and giving it to God and letting him fight the battle, you can't go wrong with that, because
Right.
he says, touch not my anointing. So I truly believe that in the end, you're going to come out on top, because God takes care of his people and his kids.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Give you favor.
Amen. And you know, I think another problem with this field is if you come into this field, and this is just an opinion, I'm not saying it to be true. I know that a lot of people say that I'm trying to say it to be true, but my opinion on it is that you come into this field, especially the cryptic field, there's already a spirit attached to it. And a lot of
Yeah.
these people come into this field and they don't have that armor on or that strength,
hmm
and they
Yeah.
become engulfed in it, and it becomes their life, and I believe that they gain power from it. You know, even the people in their chats that agree with them, in agreement with the tongue, and you know, agree with them, they give them power. It's an
hmm
empowerment, and I
That's a good
think that
point.
a lot of that struggle.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think we have to be, you know, armored up and ready. And anytime, you know, you do any kind of investigation, I think you have to be ready for the known and the unknown, surprises, or you know, because I know that I've done a lot of investigations, the Girl Scout investigations. Whenever I first done that investigation, I had a theory to where I thought I knew where that investigation was going to go. And I was pretty sure that once we got involved in the investigation, that it was going to show that Jean Leroy Hart had murdered those three little girls. But the more and more you looked at the evidence, the more, in my opinion, it steered me away from him. Was Jean Leroy Hart a good man? No. Do I think that he done a lot of bad things? Definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't think he killed those little girls. I think that it was a whole different set of people, and I believe the sheriff had a personal vendetta with him, and he used the opportunity with the federal, state, and local authorities to go after a personal problem he had, because the rumor was he was dating the sheriff's wife. So there was a lot of
Yeah.
conflict of interest in the whole investigation.
Right.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's probably right. It's probably right. I am most of the time.
Yeah, and I think I remember looking at that recording and the investigation. I was pretty intrigued. And I think, I don't know if you ever found out like what that voice was. There was like a voice, or I heard something. Well, I remember hearing something when you were talking. It was some kind of background voice when you were recording, but I don't know if you ever found out what that was, or if you remember.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I had
That
a
had
lot of
come up.
people during the investigation of that. Some people were hearing voices. Some people were hearing little girls. Some people, you know, were talking about hearing a little girl talk. So
Mhm.
I know there was a lot of darkness in that investigation. A lot of, definitely a lot of evil.
Yeah.
You know, for anyone to even be able to do that to a child, it blew me away, because I mean there was parts of that I found out that I didn't even air. I don't believe it was
Mm-mm.
important to air what happened to him, because it would not change the narrative to what happened. So I don't
Right.
believe it was,
Right.
you know, to drag the family back through that part, because I mean it's not going to change anything by talking about that. There was nothing there that would cause, you know, you to have a different conclusion. So I didn't see a necessity in that to
Right.
bring that back up, you know, just out of respect to the family.
Well,
Yeah.
it opens up wounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
Yeah.
sure.
a lot of people ask me, you know, they asked me to go visit the area, and I thought about it for a while. And again, I felt it would be disrespectful to go back to that area because, again, it's been so long. It's not like you're going to go there and you're going to find something that's going to change the outcome of the case.
Mm-mm.
All you're really going to do is you're going to open up old wounds for the family to have to see that aired again. And, there's evil in there. You have to think about
Mhm.
attachments also because,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
because there is and we'll get to your story. I know people's going to be saying get to the story, but,
Yeah, Mike, get to the story. No, just joking.
I'm hurrying. But, there is a common denominator, we'll say, in the circles of the Boy Scout, Girl Scouts, and other groups, and we'll leave it at that I found out while doing the investigation. So, tell us a little bit about your encounters, so we can pick your brain. We can pick your brain.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you all for having me on. So I'll give you a little background information on me. I'm born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's where I reside. My encounter took place in my. Is it echoing on the end for you all? Because it's echoing for me.
Yeah,
little bit.
I hear the echoing.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay. So the encounter took place in my childhood home. I actually still reside in my childhood home. I inherited after my parents passed away. So I was a little hesitant in talking about it just because I do feel like sometimes, we open up the doors for the enemies when you start talking about things and bringing things up or, watching certain movies and TV shows. I truly do believe that you're opening up doors.
Yes, you are.
And it's I know it's a little bit of an opinion because I love scary movies. I mean, I grew up on that, but I think the older I've gotten, I mean, I'm 36 now, and then just praying for the spirit of discernment and really strengthening my relationship with God and, attending church and listening to my pastor preach. It is truly a lot of things are spiritual. And I know,
Yes.
we talked about putting on the full armor of God. Yes, we should, but I also think that we need to be mindful as well. And then also, learn how to pray before and after, you're trying to get involved into things, if that makes sense. And so it is a small encounter, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background information. I do have a brother and 3 sisters. I'm the baby of my family. This encounter took place here, as I said, in my childhood home. I was I want to say I was really young. So I believe I was about like 6, could be 5 or 6 around that age. My brother, our birthdays are, he's born in 86, I'm born in 87. So I want to say if I was 6, he was probably 8, or if I was 5, he was probably 7. And then my cousin is kind of right after. So let's say I was 6 and then my brother was 8, she was 9. We were at home. At this time, one of my older sisters, I want to say she could have been about maybe 13 or 14. Our parents were not at home. From what I remember, they were at the store, grocery store. And at that time, like I said, there's 5 of us. 2 of my sisters had their own room, while my older brother and my sister, the one that was about 14, we actually shared a room, one of the smallest rooms, and we had bunk beds. So my sister, I don't want to give her name, but my sister and I slept on the bottom, and then my brother slept on the top of the bunk bed. So at this time, my cousin was over, and sometimes my aunt would bring my cousin over, and we would play. We were little kids. At this time, we were in our childhood room, and we were playing like Clubhouse. My older sister was actually in a den, and I remember this. What my mom would say, she was on the phone. I do remember she was talking on the phone. Back then we had the landlines, and my mom would have probably said she was on the phone, probably being fast, talking to some boy. And
Okay.
But we were in our childhood room, and with the bunk bed, we were playing Clubhouse. So we actually had like kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. We had a sheet over the kind of like say for example, you throw a sheet down. So we were all on the bottom bunk. All three of us, we were playing Clubhouse. We had a sheet kind of wrapped around, kind of like our own little tent. And we were just playing, having a good time. And as I said, it was just us three and my sister, who was probably 14, in the den. And all of a sudden, I really can't remember why we all just kind of froze. I think it was maybe just a feeling we got. But what happened was, I saw out of the corner of my eye something enter the room. It was a really thin sheet. You could see through a sheet.
Right.
I saw something come into the room. But the weird thing is that we were like laughing and playing, and we all stopped, and all of us at the same time turned, because it's like, what is this? We see something in the room, like through the sheet, kind of like, it was really fast. And I can't remember if it was me or my brother that kind of like snatched the sheet down, but he snatched the sheet down, and there was like this, it wasn't even human. It was like transparent. It almost looked like a creature, or some kind of demonic entity. This thing it was transparent. It had like a long, skinny, rectangular head. And it almost looked like half of the head was like missing. I know it sounds really crazy or hard to believe, and I'm kind of like starting to shake, because I mean, I was small, and
Oh yeah.
it was kind of traumatizing. And I'm like sitting here because I could see the room where it happened, because I'm sitting on the floor in my living room. But anyway, so it was see-through, was transparent. It had like a long, skinny, like I said, rectangular head. But this thing, when he put the sheet down, all I saw was this thing run in. And mind you, we're small. I'm 5 or 6 years old. This thing came into the room, and our closet, I can't remember if the doors were just open or we didn't have doors to the closet at all. But we had clothes in the closet, because again, it's three of us that shared this room. And then on the top shelf, because we live in an older home, we had all kinds of games, checkers, Monopoly, Clue, all that stuff that was stacked on the top along with other things. So we see this thing, like I said, see through it, see it through the sheet. My brother knocks it down. This thing's running. It gets to the closet. It turns and looks at us. It puts its arm up, and it dropped it really quick. And everything in the closet just fell with a crash. I'm talking the rod with the clothes, the whole board, every board game, just like boom.
Wow.
And we're screaming. So it does that, put its arm down, everything falls. And so it turns around and it runs back to the doorway. But before it got to the door, right when it got to the doorway, it turned and it looked. And I'm like shaking. It turned and grinned, and it just did this like that, like kind of a growl, and it disappeared in thin air. So we're screaming. We hear my sister yelling, "What the hell are you?" Excuse my language. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. What the hell? But by this time, we jumped out of the bed. We're screaming. We're crying.
I don't blame you.
We ran. She's like, "What are you doing?" All we're saying was, "The devil, the devil." The devil came into the room, and she's like, "It wasn't the devil. Like, what the hell did you guys do? Mom's gonna, be mad. She's gonna get you." So she goes in the room, because we're crying. I didn't even want to go in there. We're crying, and she goes and she looks, and she's like, "How did you guys do this?" Now I'm 5'5". The closet shelf is about like probably 5'8" or 5'9". But you tell me what 6-year-old can do that damage. I mean, she actually looked at everything and she was like, oh man, she was like, I don't know. She was like, what happened? And we told her, and she didn't believe us at first, but then she was taken back, like there's no way that you guys could have did this type of thing. And when my mom and dad came home, we tried telling them what happened. But the thing about it is my mom, we grew up Pentecostal, apostolic, and all that stuff. But she, in her mind, was, if you saw something, that means God sent it because you guys were doing something you had no business doing.
No,
So
no.
well, you must have been doing something you had no business doing. But it was just traumatizing because I was young and I didn't even want to sleep in a room anymore.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'm 36 now. My cousin, she's probably like 38, and she smokes marijuana. And throughout the years, I'm getting to that point because you know how they say that kills your brain cells. No matter how many times, how long it's been, my brother, my cousin will tell the same story. Sometimes we'll bring it up, like, remember that demon? It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't even it was scary. And I actually wrote about it in high school when I wrote a story about it and I submitted it because it really was traumatizing. And I'll never forget it. I was young, but I'll never forget that thing. Seeing it in this house. Throughout the years, there's a couple of other things that have happened. We never seen it again. We weren't doing anything we weren't supposed to do. We were just playing Clubhouse. But it was scary. I was terrified, and I still sometimes think about it. And so I do believe that, things are spiritual. I do believe in demons. And spirits and all that stuff. I think that, demons take on the form of our loved ones at times. It's not who we think it is, but that was different. That wasn't a person. That was some kind of, I don't know why that happened to us,
Right.
Well, the Bible tells us we're in a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
That's definitely a demonic. There's, yeah. And the scariest of all, because it showed itself.
Yeah.
If you don't see it and you just see something move, it scares you a little bit. But if you see it, I think even at my age, I'd probably move out of this house if I saw something. I've had a lot of activity in this house, but I've never seen anything and don't want to.
And I really don't wish that. Yeah. The teeth were like really jagged. Like it's so imagine, Gumby. I know that's weird. It's almost where it was transparent to where I felt like I remember it being transparent, like green. And it wasn't tall. I feel like now that I'm an adult, it almost seemed like it could have just been 5 foot.
Right.
Because now, that's my office now. I work in that room and it's small. Like that's the smallest room in the house. But when you're a little kid, everything's big to you.
Sure,
you know what I mean? And I don't know. But that's the encounter. As I said, it's short, but it was definitely traumatizing, and it's something I'll never forget. And that's kind of what has led me to believe that, just growing up, there are things out there. It is spiritual. So whenever I hear somebody say something that's happened to them or their experience, I do believe them because I've experienced so many different things in my life. And as I said, now that I think back on it, I try to think, were there things going on in our family, just that would cause that to happen, or was it a gateway?
There could have been things happening in your family you didn't know about.
Or the house, or you weren't the first ones to live in the house, right?
You know what? No. And that's another thing. When we got older, we talked about this house. We moved here when I was 3, though. That I do remember. This house, there was bikers that actually lived here.
Right.
What we learned, and we learned that from a couple of the neighbors. So the block I live on, almost everyone has been in their house since before we moved here. So probably over 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And there's no telling what they did in that house. If they, Ouija
Yeah.
board, they could have played a Ouija board and brought everything in the world in.
Well, and
Yeah.
two, I think drug use and being alcoholics, I firmly believe that attracts
Yeah.
stuff.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree because
Any
it's
way they can get in, they'll try to get in.
Hmm.
That's
yeah.
So y'all didn't have a Ouija board up in the closet with the rest of the games?
Oh no, no.
Okay. I mean, one
Definitely
time,
nothing like that. And that's the thing, my mom, she, I'm the baby, but she pretty much raised her kids up in church.
right.
However, when she was pregnant with me, she kind of started backsliding and not going as much. So, but there were times when we did go faithfully. I remember going as a kid, and then when I would fall asleep, she popped my leg like, wake up. If we weren't in Sunday school, but you know how it is in church, man.
Oh, yeah.
We got those old school churches, and it's like it's like 2 hours, and you got the Holy Spirit and Holy Ghost going, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
But when you're younger, that's kind of how you feel, like, oh, I don't want to go to church.
Yeah.
Right.
It take forever.
Yeah, you're right.
But, so that was one of the encounters. I could talk about a couple of other things that have happened. I'll talk about in high school. Oh, go ahead.
I got a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
You said some things that kind of caught my attention.
Yeah.
You said that y'all were playing. Was it Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, just like Clubhouse type of thing, like a tent. Like I said, it was a bunk bed. We had like a sheet up. We were just playing like Clubhouse. Like we were like in a dungeon type of thing. Just playing.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason that really caught my attention is I had a cousin, and he played Dungeons and Dragons, and a lot of the people in the neighborhood would play with him.
Mm.
And I was younger. I was always the younger kid, and I was always, intrigued by them playing because he had everything that went with the game. He had all the little figurines. He had the maps. He had the books. He had the candles. He had,
the
everything.
different dice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so is that an actual board game or something?
Kinda. Yeah.
There's no board. I think you make up your own board as you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you have like a dungeon master, and he
Mm-hmm.
leads the game and tells you where you're at, what you're seeing, and then you and it's kind of an imaginary adventure, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do this, and he had all the maps of the towns and the caves and where you could go, and I really thought it was really, really cool, and I wanted to play. Everybody was playing, all the adults were playing, but my mom and dad would never let me play it. They felt that it was a bad game to play. So later on, he got so into this game that he painted his room black. He got a blue light in his room. He bought a skull. He bought a book now this book wasn't, but the original book of this book was written in human flesh. So he got really, really into this. Well, people that were playing this were not children. These were adults. These were like people in their 40s, 50s, 60 years old. They were so engulfed in this game that one night, one of the players, his character, got killed. This guy cried like a baby. He mourned the death of a character on a piece of notebook paper.
Yeah, statue.
And then later he passed away. Uh, people are
Ooh.
so into this game that it was. Well, my cousin was laying in his bed, and he woke up one morning, and he felt something sitting at the end of his bed, and he rolled over and he looked, and whenever he looked, it was a naked lady. She was sitting on the end of his bed, facing away from him. She wasn't facing him; she was looking away from him. He had no idea who she was. And as she turned her head toward him, she was, a beautiful lady in the face. But as her head turned toward him, the older and eviler she looked.
Ooh.
And to the point to where she looked like almost a demon as she had turned completely around, and she screamed at him.
Mm.
He sold everything. He sold
Yeah.
everything he had.
I would have did, yeah.
He
Yeah.
painted his room back to white, and he found God.
I think I would have
Yeah.
burnt that stuff.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah, see,
burn it.
I had a friend that he was really big into the Dungeons and Dragons, and he got to the point where he stayed in his room, and if he came out, he had all of his books and stuff, and he was constantly working on that stuff.
Mhm.
And so he was killed in an accident just right in front of his house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he lived out in the country. The car was going down, it was a dirt road, and it had those real deep ditches. And the car went over into the ditch. Well, it just slowly rolled over, and his window was down, and he had a friend with him. And the car just slowly rolled over, and the friend with him said, "Hey," and he looked at him, and his head was down where the pedals were, the gas pedal and brake pedal. And yeah, when the car rolled, his head went out the window and the car rolled over his head. Yeah, but he was big into the Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
So another question I have is, you said the head was rectangular.
Yeah.
Did it have like hair, ears? Did it have any kind of? Do you remember?
I don't remember it having hair or ears. Um, what I distinctly remember is, even though the head was rectangular, it just looked like there was part of it missing. Like somebody either punched half of it off on one side, or it almost looked like somebody took a sledgehammer and like bashed it at the top. But it almost looked kind of square and long. I remember the mouth and I remember the eyes. I can't remember what color they were because, like I said, it was transparent. The arms weren't as long either. They were kind of like, when it was running, it was like little arms like this, and it was skinny. It wasn't even fat. It was very skinny, transparent. Like I said, probably maybe 5 feet.
Mm.
And it just was evil. I mean, I I even asked God, I'm like, why would you let us? I mean, when I got older, because it really bothered me. It bothered me throughout the years of my life, and I still remember it to this day. Like I said,
Mhm.
You will. You'll remember it till you die.
Yeah.
I was also wondering until you said it turned around and went out the door. I was wondering when it came into your bedroom. They tell you that whenever you bless a house, to bless the bedroom doors, the fireplace, and everything else, all your entryways. I was wondering if maybe it had came back to that bedroom because it had entered through that closet and it was trying to get back to where it was going. But since you said that it had turned around and then ran away, I don't know if that's what it was doing or not. But that was kind of where what I started thinking when you said that is, was it trying to go back through the closet to go back to wherever it came from? But you said it did grin and growl at you also as it was leaving, and
and it just disappeared into thin air. It was almost like You know, you see the movies and you see something at a doorway. It was just gone. It just vanished. And like I said, we just booked it. We were screaming, we were crying. I mean, I was so scared.
Well,
Yeah.
Um,
I
I,
Well,
imagine.
another thing, Brooks, me and Brooks had talked about that this kind of brought my attention to. It's my belief that these creatures are Nephilim. I believe that the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, whatever they want to call them, the upright canine, the werewolf, the dogman. There's so many different names for them, but I believe that whatever they are in the flesh, that they are, they carry the Nephilim blood.
Yeah, they're a type of them, I believe so.
I do too, and I know that the disembodied ones are demons.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So we have that connection is what I believe. And I also believe, and what you said really made me think about something. I had a lot of reports that I went through, and I try to look at this as an investigator, how I used to do things. And
Mhm.
the similarities that I'm seeing is starting to show a whole lot more is the fact that in a lot of the encounters that people have, if you'll notice, a lot of them say it grinned at me, it smiled at me, it growled at me, or it spoke to me.
right.
Mhm.
That's a lot of the encounters that you see. Now, when you talk about you seen this thing, which you know that it wasn't in a body, what you saw, I believe, was a demon. It was uh,
Yeah.
a demon outside of the flesh and blood.
Right.
If when it left, it growled at you and bared its teeth. Now we don't know what people are saying if it's smiling or snarling. Some people could
mhm,
misinterpret that. If it done that to you while it was leaving, well, then that would lead you to believe that the characteristics that it's committing outside of a flesh and blood body by laughing or snarling at you as it left, and then you got the flesh and blood ones that are doing the same thing. Then you put
Mhm.
those together and you look at it from a picture. You have the same thing displaying the same actions in that body and out of that body. So to me, that connects them even harder to
Mhm.
prove the theory of the Nephilim, because
Right.
we know that disembodied and embodiment, their characteristics are going to stay the same. Now, if they are the same as what they teach us in school, and I don't know if they are, but we're taught in school that a criminal will not deviate from their actions. Most of the time, a criminal is, you can predict their movements after you understand their movements. Of course, you have to have the investigation. You have to understand their mindset, their thoughts, and how they operate. Their mo.
Right.
Once you figure that out, most of the time, a criminal will not deviate from that. They will be pretty predictive,
Right.
and it seems like these creatures kind of follow that way with me because they're predictive in the body and outside of the body. And again, this is just my theory; it's an opinion. I still don't believe there's any experts in the field, but
Mm.
applying those techniques and those investigative skills, it somewhat shows to me that that's what we're dealing with.
Right. Well, either way, I mean, it's still my spider web. I love my spider web. Everything, it all goes to the center of that web. It's all connected. It's all different,
Right.
but it's all connected.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're going to learn more about these creatures as time goes on.
Mhm.
I believe that they're going to reveal more and more to us. Uh,
Right.
I think worse times are ahead of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you there.
The
Mhm.
the the bell is spinning. They say so. Anything can show up.
You
Center of
know,
the bell.
and it being transparent. Even as a child, what it would make me
Jeez.
think is how
I bet.
long. And I'm not trying to scare you, but it makes me think: how long was it in your home, and you all just haven't seen it because it was transparent, And that night, for some reason, it decided to present itself to you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's crazy about that is that it was actually in the afternoon when we saw it. It wasn't even
Yeah.
in the evening. Um, and then I think about, kids are so vulnerable. We're so vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think about my niece, and she would have night terrors, and or you've got a baby and you're kind of like, well, they're playing with the angels or something, or even dogs, they see things. And so I mean, I agree with you. Who knows? Because there there has been a lot of things that have happened to us, even though we got older in the house. As I said, I also think that it has to do with energy, just different times. But I honestly, we only seen it once. I'm glad. I
Oh yeah.
don't know why.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still
Right.
question it. To this day, here and there. But I will say that even as a kid, you talked about this too, Mike. When you're in a room, there's always in the kitchen here. You always get that feeling like somebody's watching you. So whenever we had to go in the kitchen or grab something, you grabbed it and you turned the light off and you ran back into the room. That
Yeah. Yeah.
and it had always been that way, always.
Hmm.
For as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Even growing older, and of course, like I said, I'm the baby. My siblings would try to scare me because, they were watching the scary movies. I grew up watching scary movies, but it was always that feeling, and I even get it sometimes when I'm an adult. But I do pray a lot, and I have things playing and prayers praying in the background and stuff. But um, I don't know. I think that there could have been something. They could have been dabbling into something or playing with. I mean, come on, it was bikers. The
Yeah.
neighbors told us that there were so many bikers here, and they were always in and out of the house. Before we moved here, they were playing music. They're outside smoking, and I don't know, they could have been doing
Well,
drugs and
and then,
things here.
and then all the people they invited in the house, all the bad people they invited in the house with them,
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
could have been brought in that house by those people easily.
Yeah.
And they could have played around with the Ouija board. The Ouija board to me is probably one of the worst things you can ever deal with because it will bring something in. I
Right.
promise you, it will
Yeah,
bring something in,
I
and
don't
it's
mess
not
around
good.
with that. Right, right.
And
Brittany, I personally, I
Hmm.
personally think, this is my opinion,
Hmm.
that God does, I'd say, pick people and let them see things like that.
Yeah.
I do. I think he allows you to see it because it makes you realize that there's more to this life, earth, than
then
what we think. That I think
Yeah.
that's what I believe.
I
And
think I think that possibly you all were putting the sheet over the bed to make it into like a hiding area, and it thought that maybe, hey, they're hiding from me. I'm going to scare them. You know, I mean,
Maybe.
they're like, hey, they're in there hiding. I'm going to scare the crap out of them. Well, it will.
yeah,
I mean,
Now,
that you just don't know what triggered it.
Yeah, because it's like, we weren't doing anything wrong. My mom was that's just how she was and how she grew up. Like,
Right.
oh, this guy's
Right.
trying
hmm
to teach you a lesson. If you,
Yeah.
but we were like, we didn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You're innocent children at that age.
but
well, yeah,
also, if you look at a lot of the encounters, um, a lot of the encounters people have as children are during playing games, hide and go seek, playing out in the
oh,
woods,
that's true. You're
and then
right.
these creatures try to insert themselves into the games. I had that happen to me. I've told the story on one of our shows. We were playing hide and go seek, and I had ran out behind my granny's house where there was grandpa called it his garage, but it was like a small building. and it was very dark back there. In the front of the yard, was a really tall yard light out in the circle drive, and then they had their big elm trees and everything that grew in the front yard, which kind of blocked the light, but there was enough light you could see. Well, at the back of the house, it was pitch black. I mean, you could not see. And that's where that creature came up most of the time. Well, I was hiding behind the building, and my cousin, he was always a pretty big guy. I thought it was him. And I was hiding behind the building, and I could see something like knelt down at the corner of the building. And it was like peeking around the side of the building. And sorry about that. And in the front yard was a big tree we were using for base. And I thought my cousin was watching to see where the person was that was looking for us to try to run to base. Well, I'm back there hiding. I felt pretty safe because I wasn't alone. Hey, my cousin's there with me. So I whisper to my cousin and I say, I think we're pretty safe here. And whatever it is, it says back to me. And this is the only sentence I've ever heard it say. Every other time it's just been one word. But it kind of turned its head not at me, but it turned its head from looking around the building to like into the building. And it said, it is a really good place. It's where I watch you guys all the time.
Oh.
And I knew when I heard it talk and I heard it say that, I was like, this is not my cousin. But your mind wants to believe it is, and I'm sitting there. And then I look to the front yard and my cousin's at base. Everybody's standing at the tree, but me and whatever's there.
Oh, goodness.
And I ran as hard as I could to the tree.
Yeah. Grab that, hug that tree. I'm safe. I'm safe. Stay away from me.
There would have been a hole in the middle of that tree. I would have ran through it.
I stopped playing. I was like, I'm not playing no more. That was too much. That's too much. In your house, whenever all that was happening, I was wondering, was there any kind of fighting going on or anything like that?
During that time, no. But it's a good point because whenever there was, arguments or, when we got older, siblings fighting or I noticed that there would be activity, which, like I said, I've had a lot of experience. I've had instances where I've had a disagreement with my mom, and then I had something happen to me. And then that's when I felt like, okay, God, that's when I felt like God is telling me, don't, talk to your mom like that. But it was just a bad night. And I think that the energy might have stirred something up.
Right.
Right.
Like what would happen to you if y'all had an argument? What would be like an example?
So I was, I want to say, what was I in? I want to say I was probably in my early 20s. I was still at home at that time, and my dad wasn't here. I honestly can't even remember what we were arguing about, but my mom, I love her to death. That's a picture of her up there actually, but she's very, I think it was about a guy, to be honest with you, that I was seeing. And we were arguing about it. And I started getting mad at her, telling her, well, I'm 21 now. Like, you gotta, but it got heated. And we had a little Chihuahua at that time. And so in the hall, because I live in an old school house, you could probably tell, in the hall, we kind of would block the dog off. And we had runners down. We had carpet down the hall. We had runners back then. And then we had like a little, like I said, like a little board that kept her in the hall at night. And so when you walk, because we had runners throughout the house, you could hear. You guys know what it sounds like when you're walking on runners?
Yeah.
Like so whatever, we went to bed. Sweet Pea was my dog's name. She slept with me. I had my door cracked like I always do. My mom was in her room. My dad, he was a roofer, so he would get up really early and he'd be gone probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. I remember being in my bed, and for some odd reason, my dog woke me up. she was growling. So I turned because my bed was up against the window. And I turned and I'm like, I said, shut up. And then I heard like keys jangling. So I stopped because I'm like, I felt, I didn't know if I was dreaming or not. And my mom, she wouldn't have driven anywhere. It was just me and her home. I heard keys jiggling and then I thought maybe I'm just hearing things. So I rolled back over and I, faced my window. Well, all of a sudden I heard steps. It almost sounded like somebody, and I know this is weird. It's weird to think that what it sounds like when somebody's stepping over something.
Right.
But that's what I heard. I heard tap, tap. And I turned because my dog, she was on this side of me. She jumped up over me. I'm getting chills. And all of a sudden she started growling again, but she was growling toward my door. My door was cracked. So I'm turning and I'm looking and I'm like getting the hair standing up on my on my arms. I hear two more steps, like tap, tap. She starts barking crazy. Her hair stood up on the back of her neck. And she's just growling. She's a chihuahua and she's barking and she's growling. And I just start shivering. And I'm like, Mom, silence. And I started saying, I closed my eyes and I was like, forgive me, God, save me, help me. Because at that point, I felt like something, it wasn't a person. I knew that it was just my mom. I knew it was just me and my mom there. It was something in the hall.
Right.
And I started praying and asking God to forgive me. I was like, help me, God, help. I was like, I'm sorry. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive me for arguing with my mom. And I put the covers over my head. Here I am. I think I might have been like maybe 19 now that I think about it, 19 and 20. I put the covers over my head and I'm just shivering. And Sweet Pea, she's just growling. She's barking. And then she finally, I felt her kind of lay down. And maybe I want to say probably after like 15, 20 minutes with me I was actually in tears. I turned and looked at her and she was laying at the corner of my bed, but she was facing the door.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything after that. I did finally get up, probably about another 10, 15 minutes to go check on my mom. She was sound asleep. Nobody was here. It was actually about 8:30 in the morning. And that's what happened. And I just felt like that's a moment where I felt like energy. It was a heated argument. My mom was using bad words. She was just cutting up. My mom, she could cut up when she gets angry. But I had that happen and I really felt like, I don't know. I felt like, okay, we stirred up energy. And then I felt like God was telling me that's something where I felt like, okay, you got to honor your mother and father. And I always do. I always had. It's just I was very upset with her and I was raising my voice with her the night before. And when I went and checked on her, she was asleep. I actually gave her a kiss and I said, Mom, I'm sorry, for acting like that. Because I literally felt like, okay, something's going to get me because of the way you were acting. That's how I felt. But the most important thing is the fact that my dog, why would my dog do that?
Right.
There was something there.
Yeah, the dog sensed it. It knew it was there. It probably saw it.
Yeah, because she was going crazy. And to see her growl like that and the hair stand up on the back of her, I knew that there was something there. And just to hear those steps, I almost felt like it was like a demon goat or something. I don't know why, because it didn't sound like a full, that it sounded like it was something small, like the foot was small. Does that make sense? Like my dog could run across. So I felt like, I don't know why I felt in my spirit. Maybe it was like the demon goat. What's that goat thing? The hooves or something. I don't know. I'm probably just going crazy, but that's just one thing that's happened to me. There's plenty of other things that have happened here. Even with my brother.
Did you all ever watch like Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures or get into watching ghost channels?
You know, a couple of years back, and it's been a long time, I did watch Ghost Hunters here and there, but I stopped watching it because I felt like they were provoking things. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like calling stuff out and provoking it. And I think they even used the Ouija board at some point, right?
So,
Like I
yeah,
felt like,
they would try anything to bring something out for their shows.
and I didn't like that. I felt like
No.
you're just trying to.
You're asking for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you look for it and it's gonna come. Like that's what they say. Don't do
Right.
that. And so I stopped watching it. There are a couple of other paranormal shows that I did like to watch, because there were people telling their true life stories, and I
Right.
felt like I was more drawn to those shows, and I believe them because, hey, I've had this experience when I was a kid.
Right.
I've had experiences as a teenager, even as an adult. My brother's dealt with things. I mean, he's had a demon choking him in his sleep here. I mean, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just lots of different things. But the pastor would actually tell us not to watch scary movies, not to watch shows like that, because it
You're
opens
inviting
up
them
the
in.
doors. Yeah.
If you take interest in them, they'll take interest in you. I mean, they're here. They're everywhere. They're walking around this earth. These demons are everywhere.
Yeah, they're
And if
everywhere.
you show interest, I don't think they have the right to bother you unless you show interest to them. And then I think it's sort of opening the door, because I live in this house. We've been here probably 38 years. And I guess about 10 years ago, I started watching Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures because I had paranormal activity when I was a child. And I said, I believe this stuff. I know what happens. And I started watching it. And this is back when you had VCRs, you could record the shows. And I would record the show and I'd take it over to my daughter's house because they didn't have the cable yet. They had just regular antenna TV. And we would play the ghost stories over there. And I just kept going back. Well, we opened something because I had everything happen in this house. I mean, this man talked to me. He walked down the hallway in heavy cowboy boots. I mean, it literally sounded like Western boots. I mean, it hit that floor real hard. I thought it was my ex playing with me. So I opened the bathroom door and there's nobody there. I mean, it's just me. And just as plain as day, he knocked on the door 3 times. He went knock, knock, knock. And I'm like, okay, so I know something's out there. And I went ahead and looked and there wasn't nothing out there. And then I was telling my daughter and my ex what happened. I said, yeah, last night around 3 o'clock in the morning, I was watching TV and something knocked on that door 3 times. And as soon as I said that door went knock, knock, knock. And they're like, I said, yeah. And then it started talking to my daughter. It called her name out. I mean, anything you can do. It literally unlocked the door and turned the handle while I was watching TV. I heard the door unlock and I heard the handle turn. Well, I thought somebody was coming in the house. And literally nobody there. The door opened up and there was, nobody there. So I know by watching all those stupid shows that I open myself up to these demons. So I watch a group called Mackie and Amanda. They're hilarious. I just laugh at them because they're so stupid. But I don't get into as much to the ghost hunters and stuff because I know that's giving them place and they will interact. And I've had to send them out of here twice in the blood of Jesus Christ and put them with the power of God to leave my house immediately. And I've chased them away. I mean, literally, you can tell when they're gone. But something started messing with my ex. I work third shift, and she'd be sitting there sleeping, and she'd literally feel a body lay down in the bed beside her, literally pull the cover up, and then lay down beside her. And
oh my God!
I mean, the first time it happened, she called all my kids. She had everybody called me at work. I mean, she was terrified. She put holy candles all around the room. I'm like, whoa, calm down. I said, I can get rid of it. Don't worry about it. I can get rid of it. So I told it to leave. And of course, Mike might still have the picture. I got the picture. But right after I told it to leave, it showed up on the TV screen. The TV screen changed to all different colors, and you could see a face looking at me through the screen. It was so mad. But I got a picture of it. I went ahead and got my camera because it stayed on for 10 minutes. And
Oh,
it's just looking at me, and I'm like, that's the weirdest looking thing I ever seen in my life. It's got like,
Yeah.
I don't know, crazy looking hair. I mean, just crazy looking thing.
It
And,
is crazy.
But yeah, I told it to leave, but I can be laying here. I mean, I know they're here. I know they're everywhere. I know they are. And they're just roaming the earth. They have nothing else to do till God condemns them to hell. They're just walking around the earth.
right.
So I was laying in bed maybe about a month ago, and I mean, something jerked that damn cover so hard. And I thought she plays bingo and is gone till 3 o'clock in the morning. So I said, well, maybe she's home. And I looked at the clock, it was only like 12 o'clock, and nobody was here but me. But I felt that cover jerk. And it did it 2 more times through that week. And I had to tell it to leave again. You know, they'll try. They'll try.
Yeah.
And not just my house, but every house. There's 6 houses of us that make up this little block right here. And every house has had activity. We've got a house across the street where a little kid sits in a chair and watches TV with the family. And they said they're so used to him sitting there in the chair that they don't even pay attention that he's there watching TV. Now, it ain't constantly. It'll be every once in a while they'll look back here and they'll say, "Yeah, sitting in the chair," and then he'll just disappear. And my daughter lived in the house across the street, rented it, and there was my granddaughter went in there to use the bathroom, and she came out crying. She says, "I can't use the bathroom in there." And we're like, "Why can't you use the bathroom?" And she said, "There's some lady floating in the corner in a black outfit. She's floating in the thing, and she's looking at me." And I looked at them. I mean, we were all in shock because she never made up stories at all. She was probably about 6. And I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "She's floating in the corner and she's got a big black dress on." And I said, "Okay, Tracy," and that's my daughter. I said, "You need to go over there and you take her to the bathroom." And of course it didn't show back up when she did, but there was all kinds of stuff started happening to them because I was showing them the videos. So it transferred into there. Well, they moved out, and I was coming down the street, and I pulled in the driveway, and I walked up to the kitchen window because the house was empty. And I said, "I wonder if there's really something in there." And man, something hit that window so friggin' hard. You never seen me run so fast. I mean, I fell off into the ditch. I was running as fast as I left my truck there. I ran all the way home. I said, "No, ain't no way." But it did. It hit that. I said it out loud. I said, "I wonder if there's really something in there." And man, that window, I swear, it sounded like a rock had hit the window.
Oh my!
Said, "Yeah, Scott, we're here."
I said, "Yeah, they're here. They're here." So I waited till the next day. I went back and got my truck. But I mean, geez. You know, I mean, and like I say, everybody's had experiences. The lady next door to us says they've got an upstairs that's a wooden floor. It's a double-story house, but nobody lives upstairs. But she says all night long you can hear somebody walking back and forth, just pacing. She said it's whenever her husband, he was a second shifter, whenever he would come home, it would stop. He would never do it while he was there. And I just walked over one day and I said, "Look, I got to ask you all a stupid question." They said, "What?" I said, "Do you all believe in ghosts?" Because I thought they were ghosts. I never even thought of a demon. And they said, she popped up. She said, "Oh my God, I told you, Philip, we had ghosts in that." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "I told you somebody walks upstairs when you're not here. I hear them walking back and forth." And I said, "Yeah, that's what they do." I said, "They stay in hidden places until they want to interact with you." I said, "But yeah, I said, there's ghosts in all 6 of our houses, or demons. I don't want to say ghosts. But yeah, we've had all kinds of activity. Tons of it.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's scary. That's crazy.
I thought it was, I got intrigued. The first thing that ever happened after I was watching all them shows was it whispered in my ear and it said, "Hurry." What it told me, "Hurry," because I was using the bathroom. And it just said, it was a whisper. It was a male's voice, and it said, "Hurry." Well, I jumped off there. I come running out. I said, "Oh, my God." I was all excited. I said, "They really can talk to you." And, because I was always thinking if I heard a voice, I would think I was crazy.
Need to use the bathroom, Scott. You wouldn't hurry up.
Well, I told you all the story. I was doing a colonoscopy, getting my colon cleansed for a colonoscopy. And I kept saying, "Oh, I got to hurry. And I'd run to the bathroom. And one time I was sitting down, he was literally in the sink and the counter. to get into my ear. I'm right next to the tub or the counter. So he's standing in the counter and bends over and whispers in my ear. And or he was floating or whatever he was doing. But then every day we had some kind of activity from him. Called my daughter's name out while she was washing dishes, and she said he screamed her name. She thought I was calling her from the bedroom. She said it sounded so loud, Dad. And I said, well, I don't know, but finally I figured out how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
But I was excited. I mean, everything that I've seen on ghost hunters, everything I saw, this thing did. The walking down the hallway with the heavy boots, knocking on the doors, opening the doors. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, it really is interesting, but you know what they are now, so you don't want to really get too interested.
Yeah, right.
But it is neat that there's another world out there that we just don't know that's going on in this world.
Right.
Yeah.
It was showing you that it could.
It really did. I mean, because when I was watching the shows, I'm like, I wonder if they can really do this. Yeah, I wonder if they can do this.
That's why it started getting you.
Yeah. Anytime you say anything out loud, they can't read your thoughts. Only God and Jesus can read your thoughts. But demons, if you say something and they're around you, they're going to do they're going to interact with you.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to talk. Because normally when we talk about things, I'll go outside, even when I'm talking to my siblings or something.
Right.
I don't like to talk in because I feel like, if it's here, they're listening, they're going to start bothering me. But I know to pray. And like you said, I'm going to praise.
God will make them leave your house. The minute you tell them to leave in the name of God, it scares them that they're gone. I mean, I've never had a problem. But I'm like you. I'm sitting there talking about it, so I'm sitting there in my subconscious saying, well, I think I'm going to probably be visited at night,
I know. That's what I was thinking. But
so you really don't want to talk about it. You want to go over to your neighbor's house and talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, when you said that, with you saying that, a couple of people on your block, I had a friend that talked to me. She lives in a different area or whatnot, but she actually said that the neighborhood that she was in is haunted or something like that. There's something about it, but everyone had experiences. Like her house, they would have things going on.
Right.
I do know that the houses next door, they have had some issues. The one folks on the end, they actually had something really bad happen to them though before we moved. Try to make a long story short, a dad actually tried killing the mom and all the kids, and did kill 2 of the kids, and the mom lived through it. They're still in that house.
Wow.
But she passed away about 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
But they would have things going on. The next door neighbor, I remember my mom told me that she was visiting her. Her name's, I don't want to give her name, but such and such. But she was over there and she started telling my mom like how she's been having things happen in her house. And my mom was looking at her like, girl, what? You better get a Bible. Where's your Bible at? She's like, you should have an open Bible in every room, because we do. I've got an open Bible in my room. I'm in the living room. I've got, Psalms 91, 23, all that. But she started telling my mom that, when she was in the living room a couple of times, the pictures just flew off the wall when she's sitting there, and she like jumped up like, and my mom was like, what, really? So my whole point to that is that I did wonder, can things go to from house to house?
Yes.
Type of deal. Because this house has had issues for as long as we can remember.
Right.
I know, and it's kind of sad because the family did move out, but I did tell her that, the family that used to live there, try to make a long story short, again, my mom actually used to babysit the kids, their little kids, and they would always complain and say that they would see things to us, and they were smaller than we were. But when they moved in, they were renting a house out for like a year or two. I started getting to know the girlfriend, and she started telling me how they were having issues. Like her daughter kept crying in one of the rooms, and I ended up telling her, I said, honestly, this house there's been something wrong with it as long as I could remember, for as long as I can remember.
Right.
Even when they remodeled it, it caught on fire twice. Nobody was living there. They summed it up to an electrical issue. I think that it was something more. It stayed abandoned for years. So when they moved in, and when I started telling her, she started freaking out. And she was like, oh my God, like I keep telling my boyfriend, there's something wrong here. I feel it. My kids are scared. You know, they'll wake up in the middle of the night. They'll come in there. And I said, you know, you just need to pray. You have the authority. Start praying. And she's like, well, do you think you can come over and pray? And I was like, well, I can get my breath. I'm like, you know, when two or more are gathered. But, you know, and we never got to that point. I mean, I prayed with her outside of the house, but it's just, I don't know. I just feel like it's validation that, you know, with you saying that, I think it can happen.
It's crazy. I just know they're everywhere. I mean, there could be 10 of them sitting right here behind me, but they will not do anything unless I respond or make a comment or get interested in that. You know, then they're going to react. I think they have to stay at bay until you make the stupid comment. You know, but the picture thing on the walls, our neighbor that lives, I mean, this street's long. It's probably almost a mile long. At the very end, this lady, her daughter lives this end of the street, and she lives all the way at the other end of the street. And when she would come home, her picture would be off the wall and be tucked in behind the door every day. And she got mad at her daughter. She said, you got to quit playing around. I'm tired of having to try to hang it up. It hurts my back. And she said, Mom, I have not been in your house this week at all. She said, every day this week, the picture's been behind the door. And I said, that's just, I mean, that's, you know, they love to mess with pictures for some reason. I don't understand that part of it, but
I every house that I'm in, I bless it. I get it blessed.
Yeah.
I get oil and anoint doors, windows. I do.
I love the fact that you got the power from God to command them to leave your house, and they do. You know.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think I'm so scared of them anymore or worry about it anymore, because I know if they're doing something I don't like, I can command them in the name of God to leave, and they're gone.
They travel when they hear Jesus.
I don't know if they've gone outside or if they went under the house or up in the attic, but they're not around me or around, you know, anybody in the house. Oh yeah.
I'm a firm believer in house blessings.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to bless them.
And I agree with that, because I've got anointed oil, blessed oil in it. I have a cross and stuff over my doorpost, but they do say to be careful who you allow in your house, because I will say when we've had gatherings and things here, it's almost all the time after everybody leaves, I could be laying in my bed and I start hearing stuff in here. And I'm just like, here we go. You know, who did I let come in here, leaving negative energy or whatever? So then, you know, of course, you know, I say my prayers. I just start yelling, Jesus, Jesus. And then I'm like, you know what? You'll deal with it in the morning. But I even told my sister, I'm like, you know, I'm getting to the point to where I don't even want to have gatherings here, because there's just always something. Right. And I know it's not me. I know I'm not looking for anything. I mean, even I have a little Shih Tzu, and he sleeps with me. He's in a room, and there's times when we're just sitting there chilling, and I hear it and he hears it. Like he picks his head up and he looks in it. I'm like, so I know I'm not going crazy. This dog is validating. So I'm just like, you know what? Again, Brittany. So I've tried to pray, you know, when people leave, but more than likely that's what happens, you know, and
And you have to be careful too what you bring into the house, not just people. Yep.
Yeah. I'm very with gifts and stuff.
Yeah, they can attach to an object, and you know, look at Annabelle the doll. I mean, if someone wants to attach to a doll, and I don't like dolls at all after all these movies, but
I
mean, you know, anything can take over something. whether it's
Yeah.
live or dead or whatever, and they can attach to it, and you bring it into your house. Next thing you
I
know, you're
agree.
having. But you
Yeah.
know, and there is different types of demons. The worst is a poltergeist, the ones that can literally do stuff by moving stuff, stacking
Yeah.
dishes in the middle of your dining room. I mean, I've heard so many people have that. The poltergeist, I wouldn't like, and they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I've had that years ago.
Mhm.
But it didn't stack stuff. I mean, it moved stuff.
Right,
And I mean, I could go into another room and come out, and there's something right in the middle of the living room floor that was not there.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe every bit of. When somebody tells me something, I believe it. I mean, I've had too much happen in my life.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm right there with you, and I'm just kind of like, who's gonna make up stuff for attention? Like, I got a
Right.
couple of people that don't believe in cryptids and all that, and I'm like, dude, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Think
you know.
about Noah's Ark and the flood and all that. There's a lot of stuff is also biblical.
Oh
So
yeah.
That's right.
I
think
think people are
almost
just naive. Yeah.
Yeah.
everything is tied to the Bible that happens on this earth. Everything. Your
Well,
Nephilim, your fallen angels,
but the
every
thing
bit of it.
about it is the church doesn't teach people about that
Mm-mm.
stuff.
No.
They
No.
don't. No, they skip that part. And they'll either go the condemnation on you or, it's, they
Well,
don't teach you.
it's too controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're afraid they're going to lose members over that, and then when you lose members, then you also lose, tithing.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I learned a lot of things when I came into this field that I never knew existed. I had a guy that was working for me, and I won't say his name yet. That will come out later. But he was involved with another guy that was working for me, and I won't say his name. But there was a little bit of controversy went on there, and they got into an argument, I guess. And one of the gentlemen that was working for me, he was talking to somebody saying that he was a werewolf. Totally said that he changed into a werewolf. His wife made the comment that she had spoke to me. She was a little worried about him because he picked up the family dog out of the front room and started biting it. And he was
Lord, I don't mean to laugh.
he was biting the dog so hard that the dog was screaming and had to go to the vet. And after he got done biting it, he like chunked it against the wall. He was
I'd say that man's on drugs. I don't think that has to do with
that
demonic.
guy been out the door for me. See ya.
My opinion is you cannot turn into a werewolf. I don't believe a human turns into a werewolf. I think they are Nephilim. That's what they were turned into.
In the woods on his motorcycle in the middle of the night, and allegedly not knowing how he got there. But here's the weird thing. The guy that said he was a werewolf had a private conversation with me, and he said, I turned into a werewolf the other night, and I went to such and such's house. And I was like, what? He's like, I turned into a werewolf the other night, and I went to such and such's house. And I thought, okay, this is going to be another one of these weird stories. So, I listen to him. I give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I've heard a lot of weird things in my career and stuff. You just learn to let people talk, and So he starts telling me that he went down, and the way that he got to this guy's house was by the railroad, right? He went down the railroad tracks. So he went down the railroad tracks until he got to this guy's house. And I know both these guys. And he says he went up to the door and he looked in the window. He said the guy's dog was barking at me. And I couldn't get into his house. He said, now he lives in a 2-story house, Mike. And I tried to get in. And I finally was able to get in through his lower part of his house, the lower part. And he said, I went up the steps. And when I got to the top of the steps, I got to his doorway and I heard the dog inside of his bedroom really, really, really upset. Okay. So he also says that there was a woman in the house sleeping in another bedroom. Now, he said he went there to shred this other guy in his sleep as a werewolf. That's why he was there, because he was mad at him. Well, he ends up leaving. So I do end up talking to the other guy. And the weird thing is the guy that went to the other guy's house as the alleged werewolf, he said there was 29 steps from the bottom floor to the second floor of this guy's house. So I'm talking to the other guy and I tell him what he said. He said he came to your house last night, and he's like, Mike, don't bullshit me. And I said, I'm not bullshitting you. He goes, Mike, don't bullshit me. I said, I'm not bullshitting you. That's what he said. He goes, I had a guy standing out last night messing around my house, and I saw him standing in the woods, and he ran toward the railroad tracks. And I said, you got train tracks by your house? And he said, yeah, right at the back of my house. I said, well, this guy told me that there was 29 steps from the bottom of your house to your top floor. It wasn't 30 minutes later after we hung up, he called me back and he said, Mike, I want to show you something. He went up the steps on video with me, live. There was 29 steps.
He had to go count them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. And I told him, I said, but the weird thing is you don't have to worry, because he said there was a woman in your house. And he said, bullshit, I don't have to worry. He said, there is a woman in my house. And he had never mentioned this to me ever. I said, oh, was you dating somebody? He said, no, my ex-wife lives here. And I said, well, he told me that there's a clock hanging in your front room. And I described the clock to him. It was like a stop sign, like an octagon. And I described it to him. He goes, like this one? And he shines his, and it was there.
Wow.
Now, my brain starts kicking in and I start analyzing things like I do, and I start breaking things down and looking at things and trying to make sense of it. And the only thing that I've came to, the only conclusion I've came to, that if this did not happen, was those two conspired together this story and tried to sell it off to me. That would be if other than that, it would have had it would have had to have happened.
Right.
And that was all I could come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huh.
I just it's hard. The Girl Scout murder case, I may revisit that in the future when I get Hunter back, because I feel like there was things left that really need to be looked at. I don't have the time right now with what I'm doing, because it really takes a lot of my time. But
that was horrible.
Yeah.
It was really bad. But the shaman in those hills, they say people transform.
Mm-hmm.
There was a man in those hills, documented by a doctor, that was bit by his brother on the arm, that required medical attention, that the doctor, when he got to the ER, called for a vet to tell him what kind of dog bit him. And when the vet got there, he said, "That's not a bite of any kind we know."
Hmm.
So there was a man bit by what he said was a person. Now, he said this person that bit him did not, fully change into a werewolf. There was a change in him physically,
Right.
but he had not completely transformed into this werewolf. Did he later or not? The shaman believe so. They believe it can happen. They believe that there is skinwalkers and that there is shapeshifters, and they believe that
Mm-hmm.
they get this power through black magic.
Right.
Uh, you know, but anyways, it was really deep. But a question I had for you, Brittany, was anybody in your house ever touched or experienced sleep paralysis?
Me,
Sure.
my
Yeah.
brother, me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, her brother got choked, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and that's probably a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
so with our pastor's really good. He's actually really good about talking about things like that. He kind of gets into a little bit of the conspiracy things, but he has a good crowd. I mean, he talks about the super soldiers. He talks about the Nephilim. I mean, he's a good man, and he teaches
That's good.
he preaches the gospel. A lot
Yeah.
of these preachers out here, they want to shy around everything, and I don't like to attend churches like that. But yeah, my brother, he had been choked. I don't know how to make this story short, but so there was a time where we were taking like armor bearer classes at church so we could get our bachelor's degree in theology. The guy that I was talking about when I was 19, and we were actually dating until I was 23. Whatever. We were all taking these classes together at church, but the more my brother got the more my brother got more spiritual, the more he was under attack, if that makes sense. He
Yes.
was going full hard. I mean, my brother's not that great. He's not that book smart, but I will tell you, he's very spiritual. I really truly believe that he was called to be a preacher or a deacon. But the more often he attended church, the more he became under attack. Even in high school, my mom would kind of get mad at him because she'd be like, why are you going to bed with the lights on? You don't pay the bills here. I remember her getting mad and yelling. And later on, we learned that he was falling asleep with the lights on because he was being attacked, and he didn't say anything.
Right.
He's a junior in high school and a senior in high school. We gave our life to the Lord a little later on in life. We went to a camp and all that stuff, but he was under attack, and he finally told us what was going on. He would wake up out of breath, like something was on his chest. He would see a dark shadow in the corner of the room. And he was terrified. He was terrified to turn the light off. That's why he was falling asleep with the lights on. And then, my mom would go to bed, and then he would turn them off, and then he would turn it back on.
Mm.
After mom went to bed and if she was asleep, he'd turn them back on. Yeah.
And she didn't know. And it wasn't until a couple of years later where I remember waking up and he was crying and he was yelling and he was saying, "Leave me alone." And he was praying.
Right.
And he got up and I'm getting the chills because he was just praying. "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." He was in a living room. He opened the doors and he was commanding it to leave. And so later on, we learned what was going on with him. So he was struggling with that for about a couple of years and didn't say anything. And the closer he got with God, it was pretty much when he gave his life to Lord and he was studying to, like I said, get his bachelor's in theology. And it just seemed like the more he was trying to do right, the more he was under attack.
Yeah.
And he just didn't say anything to anybody. So
That happens. That does happen. That happens
Right.
to a lot of people. A
yeah.
lot.
A whole lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me,
Did it leave,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, did it leave marks on him or anything physical?
I don't, I don't remember him ever saying anything. I know that he said that he would literally wake up like, like gasping for air, like literally. And he felt like somebody was choking him. You know, when he would fall asleep, he would wake up like somebody was sitting on, even with the lights on at times. And he said he felt like something was choking him.
Mm.
And I kind of, there was a time where I kind of felt like something was off because I felt like he was changing, but it was, I think he had sleep paralysis, but I think it was also something more because he literally said he would see this demonic thing in his room in the corner that would be hovering and then over him in a sense.
Yeah.
I never seen that, but I have had sleep paralysis and I feel like it's not the medical or scientific thing. I feel like it's more of a spiritual attack that
Mhm.
that I've have had, and it's not fun. You know,
Yeah.
it's scary. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have ever had that or dealt with it, but I have. And it's
I've had it happen to me. Let's see, one, two, three times. The first time I had sleep paralysis, we was living at my old house. I was probably 16, 17, and I
Mhm.
was sleeping in my bedroom. And I could look through my bedroom door and see into the front room where my dad was laying on the couch. He was taking a nap also. And this was during the day. And I was laying in the bed. I felt like something was on me. Felt heavy, but it was choking me. And it was like getting worse and worse and worse. It's like somebody's grip getting tighter and tighter and tighter, but slower, slower, slower. And I couldn't move. And I was thinking in my mind, if I could only move my arm
Yeah.
and knock my alarm clock off, my dad would hear it and my dad would come and save me. And I was trying so hard to move my arm, to knock the alarm clock off. And finally,
It wouldn't.
in my mind, I said, Jesus, help me. And I
Yeah.
immediately broke free and hit the alarm clock and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other times are pretty much the same way. It's terrifying because you're totally aware of what's going on around you. You're able to think and see, but you can't move, and you feel that heaviness. That
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Mhm.
explain it. It's hard to explain.
There's
You got
power
Did
in the name of Jesus.
You can't
Well, you
even
know,
talk, right?
you can't
Nothing.
scream. You can't talk.
Right. That's what I
It's
thought. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
You
had
you
it
can move
happen.
you can move your eyes. Like just
Hmm.
just your eyes, and you can think, but that's
Right.
all you can do. That's all you
Yeah,
can do.
you can't really even move your head either.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've had it to where, and I've had it happen quite a few times with me. I will say the one last time where it was really bad, I was battling depression. I was going through some things here, a breakup. Then my best friend moved away. Then my dad was away, and then my mom she was having separation anxiety from my dad because he went to work at the Kirkland Air Force Base, and she'd been with my dad since she was 16. So she was freaking out, and I don't know if it was just the energy of everything that was going on.
Hmm.
My cousin was struggling with her marriage, and my best friend was in the same place. She was in New Mexico, but they would call me and I would always be there for them listening. And so what was happening was their problems, I think I was taking it in and internalizing it. And so their energy and all that stuff, even though they were in different states, I was also dealing with my own issues with a bad breakup. My dad's gone, my mom's going crazy here. She was starting to say he's out there cheating on me, like he left us. And I was like, Mom, you're really losing it here. It was bad to where she was even getting into bed with me, and I'm like, Mom, you got to stop this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was really struck. There was just so much of that going on, and I was really beginning to get depressed. But this particular time when I had that sleep paralysis, and she didn't know anything about it. I don't know if it was because I was depressed and dealing with all that stuff. But this time, I don't know if for any of you, if I don't know how to explain it. I feel like when you're going through that, sometimes it's almost like whatever it is, it's blocking you from trying to call on God. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the last couple of times where it happened to me, it's almost like I know I want to say, help me, Jesus, in my head, but something's stopping me from
Right.
doing it. And you just feel trapped mentally, physically. But so that particular night, that's what happened to me. I couldn't move. It's like it was almost like an outer body experience. And I also felt something in the room with me that time. And going through it, I mean, that was probably one of the most terrifying, probably one of the worst experiences I had that night, where I just could not, I felt like it was an eternity, just sitting there going through that, not being able to move, not being
Right.
able to call out, like, I'm here in this room, I'm awake, but I'm not awake. And my mom, I can't even call for my mom to help me. I felt so helpless. But all of a sudden, all I hear was like this, Brittany, so loud in my room.
Mm.
And my name was whispered so loud that literally I broke free from it. And I jumped up out of the bed. Like, I've never jumped out, like, after experiencing that, I've never jumped out of bed like that before. I jumped out and I was just looking around, like, I thought maybe my mom, but it scared me so much, and I was shaking and I was crying. And so I literally, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm 24 years old at this point, and I went in the room and my mom was asleep, and I got in the bed with my mom and I was crying, I was bawling, and I
Yeah.
was like shaking and crying. And she woke up, she was like, what's wrong? And I told her what happened, and she just, we turned the light on and she looked at me and she's like, well, let's pray. And I was trying to explain to her how it works. Like, you cannot move. You're
Right.
like stuck. You're frozen. You're awake, but you're not awake, at least for me.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She was like, she started getting bothered because she was like, oh God, she's like, I don't ever want to experience that. But she felt for me, but that was probably one of the worst times ever for me. And I really felt like something was in a room with me that time. I don't know why I heard whatever it was whisper my name.
Yeah.
And then I was able to break free like that. I don't, because it didn't seem like it was something that helped me. So that was probably just one of the worst times that I dealt with that. And I don't know if it's because I was battling depression. I was really, really going through it. I mean, I even took off time for work because I was in meetings and people, they would see I wasn't able to sleep because I
Right.
was dealing with this. It was happening to me a lot, and my hands were shaking when I had my pen, to where people went to my boss. They told the CEO, there's like something's going on with her. You need to talk to her. That's how bad it was. It was actually affecting me at work, to where people could see something was going on with me.
Right.
I
Right.
had lost like probably 15 pounds in a month because I went to church. I was going to church, and I was like, nothing was working. I'm like, you go up to the altar and I'm telling them to pray for me, and it wasn't working. I
Right.
really felt
Yeah.
like I was going through oppression. It was a really hard time in my life, to that where I was like, it didn't matter. I was like, I've always felt like I'm a blessed to get up out of the bed, walk. I've got eyes to see, I could hear. And I know that I was depressed because I didn't care. That wasn't me.
Right.
I worked with kids that had developmental disabilities, and I felt so helpless that I didn't even care if I lived. So that's how I knew that there was something more going on with me. And it was probably the worst 7 to 8 months of my life. And
Mhm.
I tell people, I said, I do know that depression is real, and I know that spirituality is real, but I told God, I said, please don't ever let me feel that way in my life and go through these things, because I really felt like I was under attack. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do. And I really don't wish that on anybody. I don't. Like, I think I even told God, I would rather you just take me than to feel the way I felt going through that, not being able to sleep, being paranoid, hearing voices, having sleep paralysis almost every night. It was bad. It was awful. So
yeah, you were under attack. Yeah, definitely. I definitely believe in spiritual attack.
Oh yeah.
I felt the evil. I felt the evil in it. I felt like it was really trying to kill me. That's what I felt.
that's what my brother said. So I believe you. That's how he felt.
Yeah, I think the closer that you really try and get to God, the more it attacks.
Yeah,
And
you can be
that
saved
means
and you're still going to get attacked.
Yeah, that means you're going the right way because the enemy doesn't like it.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, Brittany, do you think maybe it was an angel that said your name to wake you up, to get you out of there?
You know, and I thought about it because at the point, like I said, when I jumped out of bed, I thought it was my mom.
Right.
You know, but it wasn't her. That was just really one of the worst attacks that I had that night.
Right.
The fact that I heard it, Brittany, like that, and then for me to break free, like I was boom, like I was able to move. I don't know if it was God. I don't know. Maybe it was my dad. I don't know. My dad was alive, but maybe because at that point. Yeah. It wasn't even that I was able to say God in my head, help me, Jesus, help me. Because again,
right.
The past couple of times, it's like you want to speak it through your head and you can't. That's what I was trying to tell my mom. I said, Mom, you don't understand. I said, it's like something is blocking you from even calling on God, even in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But normally the other times when I finally can break through with that, help me, Jesus, help me, you do break free. But this time it was that voice that broke me free.
Yeah.
But that was one of the worst times of my life, you know, that I was experiencing a really bad time in my life. So maybe that's why it was a bad, you know, one of the worst. I haven't had sleep paralysis really since then. I did have it at one point when my mom passed. Again, I was just kind of in a bad place.
Right.
As anybody would be when they lose a parent, because I've lost both of them. But I haven't, you know, I think that alcohol does take, I think alcohol kind of opens up doors too. You know, they do call it spirits for a reason.
I believe that 100%.
I believe that's why it says in the Bible not to get drunk.
Drunkards, will not inherit the house. Yep.
I mean, you can drink a drink, but don't get drunk because they could take advantage of you while you're drunk.
Yeah. See, I was married to 2 alcoholics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each of them 20 years. Yeah.
Was that did they get to be an alcoholic after they married you?
No. Funny, Scott. No.
So bad.
No.
But you know what, Brooks? It's crazy you say that because I feel like when I meet guys, I attract alcoholics. And I'm just like, God, they say you are what you attract. I'm not an alcoholic, though.
I'm not either. I don't drink. I mean, I'll see a good-looking man, and I'm going, "Oh my gosh, this guy's nice looking," and then it just comes into my mind. I'm going, "He's probably an alcoholic, isn't he?" You know, forget that.
You gotta marry him. He's an alcoholic.
I honestly, I think that if you wake up drinking and then you go to bed, if you're drinking 7 days a week, you have a problem.
Absolutely.
So like, there's no reason for you to wake up in the morning craving a beer. I don't care what day of the week it is. You've got issues.
That's right.
So I'm like, yep. When I see that, or I'm talking to somebody, and this is whatever years, it's just, I'm like, every time I talk to you or hear from you, you're drinking. You're out with your friends drinking. You're at home drinking. Like, do you do anything besides drink?
I know.
Right.
I know. You know,
they say there's people that are heavy drinkers, and then there are people that are alcoholics that they consider you an alcoholic is if you lose your job because of alcohol or you lose your family. That's when you become as an alcoholic. not somebody that just drinks and drinks. Some people just
Yeah.
love to drink. But
That makes sense.
yeah, the alcoholic is the person that loses their job, loses their family, can't control nothing. And I mean, I was taught that when I went to a class because I had a couple of drinks and was in a car that wrecked and had to go to a class on that stuff. But they say they don't classify you as an alcoholic until you lose your job or your family. That's usually when you're an alcoholic.
Well, that's not true.
You got to Barry Brooks.
Yeah, that's not true.
Functioning alcoholics.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like what it was really if I wouldn't have thought Jesus in my head, I think it really would have killed me that day because I was getting where I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And it made me start wondering about babies that die of SIDS and people that die in their sleep of natural causes.
Yeah.
I mean, it really made me start thinking about things.
Yeah. But hey, isn't that the way to go? Die in your sleep, you know?
Yeah, my opinion on that is I just lost my train of thought, so forget my opinion.
I'm sorry, Scott.
No, that's okay. No, I can't just go on and talk. I can't remember what I was going to say.
I really thought that, like what you said your brother said, it was trying to kill me. It wasn't trying to scare me. It was trying to kill me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're a Christian and you got the blood of Christ, I don't think they can kill you. They might be able to do a lot of stuff to you, but I do not think they can take your life. I think the only person that can take your life is God. I mean, he lets it happen if it's time for you to go.
Right. It just really messed with me,
But it's scary. Yeah. I mean, I can understand because to be stuck and being held down and you can't talk and you can't think.
It's one of the worst feelings ever. And I think for the folks that don't know God and they don't have the Lord in their life, those are the ones that end up committing suicide or end up being taken out because they don't.
Right.
They don't have, and I feel for people like that because we've always been spiritual. We've always, I believe in God. I mean, he's our savior. So there's just a difference because I don't care what nobody says. I truly do believe that those people that are saying I got voices in my head and that's really demons. Because there's no reason. I mean, I felt low too, but I know I've got Christ within me that I'm not going to get to that point. I know the Lord. So
that's right.
It's different compared to somebody that's maybe I don't want to say atheist, or maybe they don't know. They've never had God in their life. Maybe they grew up agnostic. And so I feel like those are the people that are more lost and more prone to dying or committing suicide, or they don't know how to fight. They don't know it's a spiritual battle because they don't believe in God.
Exactly.
Or they're just ignorant, unfortunately. So it's definitely a huge difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on all of these podcasters and people right now talking a lot about astral projecting?
I know there's one podcaster that I follow and she talked about that. I don't know what she took. I don't know if it was some kind of a chemical or I don't know if she smoked something. I don't agree with it. I feel like you're dabbling into something that you have no business doing. I wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I feel like it's kind of demonic in a sense. Like it's just you're just leading down to a wrong path.
I agree.
I just feel like you're just opening yourself up.
Right. You don't have
for an attack. You think I steer away from it. I don't agree with it, but to each its own.
Agreed. Yeah.
Does the name start with a J? The person?
Yeah.
That you're talking about, the female, the first initial is J?
Well, I was talking about a guy with the first J.
I can't hear you at my phone.
This girl, I think her name starts with a K. She's
Okay.
African American, and
Okay.
I was kind of disappointed when I saw the video, and it made me stop watching a couple of her videos because I'm
Mine-
like, what are you doing? You know, you
Mine-
got people that
Yeah.
worship the devil that talked about how they would astral project and or how they would literally pray over neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? There's people that do that serve the devil.
Well,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
know
I
agree
just
with
don't
you.
agree with it.
I don't either.
Me either.
another podcaster, condemned it for a long time, and then he started coming out saying that he does it. Now he doesn't like me very much. I call him Mr. Crowley's son, but he says he says he's able to do all this and is proud of it. And the Bible is not the word of God. It's not it's not all there. And so he talks about astral projecting, but
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I think that has to do a lot with demonic.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely people can do that. I definitely believe people can do that. No, I don't agree with it.
Right.
No. Because if you're going to leave your body, okay, and you're in Texas and you go to California at astral projecting, you're leaving that body wide open.
For anything
Yeah.
that
Yes.
there was a preacher that cut the cord on somebody that astral
Mhm.
projected. He said, "You better not astral project to me because I know how to handle you and what you're doing." And this guy done it. The cord was cut. He went into a coma, and before he died, he woke up, sat up on the bed, and screaming, and said, "This is not what I was promised." And he fell back dead. And the
Mhm.
preacher said, "I told you not to do that to me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it's totally evil. I believe it's witchcraft, black magic, Satanism,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it.
That's agreed. Yep. All of that. Yeah.
Yes.
But when your wife is a bruja and you're mixed up in all that, witches and warlocks and all that, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
crazy.
It's a crazy, crazy world out there for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we're in the end times, and it's not
That's
going
for
to get any
sure.
better. It won't get any better from here on out.
Nope.
I agree.
Not,
It's
not
definitely
until
not gonna get any
Jesus
better.
comes back.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
Till
sure.
he sets his foot on the Mount of Olives and splits it in two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've
Ron,
been
notice
over there. I
people are
don't think
becoming
it's
more and
immediately, but
more.
it's close. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, people are becoming more and more brazen with
Mm-hmm.
downing the Bible and downing the Word and astral projecting, and it's tarot cards, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
your future. It's all coming forth, but we will be in the days of Noah, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, we are in
everything that's wrong is now right. And
That's
everything
right.
that was right is now wrong. So, and that the Bible says that'll happen.
Yes. Yep.
So,
I believe
You're
it.
absolutely right.
hmm
Brittany, I've kept you almost 2 hours. I'm sure you're probably wanting to run.
No, it's actually been a really good conversation. I've
yeah,
enjoyed my time. So yeah,
Appreciate
this
you.
was good.
it's
Yeah. I
great.
love the stories. Yeah.
If you have anything left that you would like to say before we end it, I'll give you the floor, and that way you can address whatever you'd like to say or whatever, and we'll cut you loose.
Oh
I
God,
know
I
2
can
hours
go
is a
on.
long time, but
I know. Well, and I knew the encounter would be short, but I knew that there were a lot of other things that have happened. I mean, there's so many other encounters that I could talk about. So just different experiences that my family, my other siblings went through, but this was good. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to just kind of come together and you all share your stories as well and kind of give me some validation. I know you guys
Yeah.
don't think I'm crazy.
No.
No,
Well,
Sure don't.
And whenever you're ready, sometime and you want to do the others, let us know. We'd love to hear your other encounters.
Yeah.
We could do a part 2.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hopefully I won't have anything recent after we hang up.
Yeah,
Just
hopefully there's no new
Three.
encounters.
We'll just say everybody in the comments, if you want part 2, put a 1 in there.
Yep, that's it. Drop a 1 if you want to see a part 2.
That's right.
Well, Brittany, I want to thank you for coming on and for being such a loyal subscriber too. I see you in the chats a lot whenever we have our lives, and I see you helping a lot in the chats and everything, and it means a lot to us. And I know your support for Hunter, and that means a lot to us also. So I want to thank you in front of everybody and let you know that it doesn't go unseen or unfelt. And thank you very much for everything that you do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
we
for
love
your
you.
stories.
We love you, Brittany.
I love you guys too. Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure to be on, and I do appreciate how you all are just, you engage with us when we're in the comments, and I truly do appreciate that. I know it takes probably a long time to read everybody's questions and comments, so it does show that you care, and I truly do feel like we are a family here. And as I said, I'll continue to pray for all of you and keep Hunter in my prayers. And I truly believe that he'll be home soon. And I'm just thankful. I really appreciate you all for welcoming me here.
Glad to have you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. All right, Brittany, we will see you, I guess, Saturday night when this will post. It'll post tomorrow night at 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it'll be live then.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. God bless you.
Good night.
Good night.
God bless you.
Bye.
Guys, she's an awesome guest, an awesome person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's had some pretty scary encounters. Her family has too, it sounds like, don't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I know those sleep paralysis and stuff like that. That's something that I went through that, and that was terrifying. It really was. It scared me to death.
Yeah, my son-in-law went through it. Scared him to death.
It is. It's terrible. It really is.
Whether it's medical or demonic, it's still scary.
Yeah.
Move your eyes.
I had it a couple of times, but it's been years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as the boots on the ground, we're going to be going back to that location just as soon as the weather permits. We've got a lot of rain here. We're under flood warnings and stuff. So,
did I hear a tornado go off?
That was a
Amber.
Amber alert.
Okay.
Yeah, but we are going to be going back to that location, and we are going to try to film it.
That'd be neat.
We have a very important court date coming up.
Amen.
And I want to ask for everybody's prayers for it to be in our favor. I thought about doing a night of prayer, but instead of just doing 2 of those in a row, guys, it takes a lot of work. I'm just going to tell you all here in the chat, because I know we've got a lot of your all's attention in here right now. All your prayers are greatly appreciated. We stand on the hope and the faith that he will return home soon. And we can't wait to have him back. That would be that'd be a miracle. And I think we're past time on that. I think it's past due.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're going to see a miracle here soon.
Yep, I think it's time for him to come home and for us to have that party.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
can't wait.
Get that boy
I bought a bottle of
home.
wine tonight. So just walking in faith. So Brooks, I'll let you head us out of here, then Scott, then me, and we will wrap up this recording.
Like I said before, we love each and every one of you. And if it wasn't for y'all, there wouldn't be an Abnormal Investigations, because it's our supporters that keep the channel going. Thank you, and we love you.
Amen. Yes, but thank you for all the support for Hunter, and thank you all for watching the programs and the videos. We appreciate y'all and love y'all. Go ahead, Michael.
Over.
Yeah, over. Guys, as always,
Over.
over. Yeah, you guys always come through for us. We have a great group of people out there. I hope you all enjoy this premiere as much as we do. It allows us to be able to interact with you guys in the chat. Brittany was an awesome guest. I think we can learn a lot from her. And I want to thank you all for all the donations that's been given, the super chats and everything for Hunter, the donations, the gifts that are sent to the P.O. box, everything that y'all are doing is huge. And I promise when he comes home, there'll be a party. You'll be able to see him open everything that y'all have sent. And it will be one big video. It's gonna be an amazing video. It'll be the best one I've ever made. It'll be the most important, and I look forward to making it. Okay, guys. Until next time, if you want to support us and you can't donate or whatever, we don't expect it at all. Just watch a video, click the like button. That does so much more than probably what you even realize. So until next time, guys, just keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.